Welcome to Healed, Whole, Called, the podcast where stories of trauma meet the healing power of Jesus. Each week, we journey with women who have walked through pain, wrestled through the process, and now stand in the promise of who God called them to be. This is more than storytelling. This is sacred space, where honesty is welcome, healing is possible, and hope is alive. And now, here's your host, Wendy Melrose.
And today we're going to switch it up a little bit. I couldn't be more excited about it. Normally, Healed, Whole, Called, we sit down with incredible women who've overcome deep challenges. But today, we are going to have our amazing friend, David Powers. And it's so exciting. I've got my cup of coffee and we've made space at the table for the man. But not just any man. This man is raising 4 feral boys and 1 princess, homeschooling them alongside his wife, all while building multiple businesses, helping other parents escape the 9-to-5 grind and developing a Winnie-the-Pooh inspired nature sanctuary. I mean, how could we not have him on the show? Dr. David Powers is an amazing best-selling author, speaker, veteran Marine, and founding member of the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. But beyond the resume, he's someone who's passionate about helping mom and dads reclaim their time, their families, and their futures. Through his work and words, David empowers others to create streams of income and cultivate a life that is both fruitful and free. Today, he's here to share his journey and wisdom and probably a few dad jokes. And I have no doubt you're going to be both encouraged and entertained. So welcome, David.
Thank you. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, it's super fun. So, well, normally we talk about, how God has moved people through situations. Is there any, how did God bring you to where you are today? Like, what was it that made you decide to really kind of buck the norm? And was it a particular situation or was it just a calling from the beginning?
It was just a lifetime of not fitting in. When I was a little kid, I'm sure most of our audience is not as old as me, but at least old enough to remember Andy Griffith and Opie.
Yeah.
The little boy, I was Opie when I was in grade school. Red hair, bright red hair. Everybody made fun of me. I'd get in fights all the time. And so that kind of began just the whole David doesn't quite fit in everywhere. And so it just built and built. And I built bigger and bigger. And the beard grew longer and I just don't fit in. So I just figured, I'll just be myself.
That's awesome. Well, you also joined the Marine Corps. When was it that you served?
I joined at 17 when I was still in high school and joined in, 93 to 01. I actually served in the Marine Corps for 4 years and then the Army for 4 years.
Oh,
and
okay.
So I did 8 years. Yeah.
Not very often that a Marine goes and switches to the Army.
Man, it was so much easier after the Marines. If there's any Army folks listening, they'll appreciate that.
Will they though? So I would love to know more specifically, like what is it that God is doing in and through you and your wife, and how you're able to serve him in the capacity of, I love that you're helping people coming out of the 9-to-5. I've been out of the 9-to-5. Really kind of how we all had met with Dan Miller and the 48 days and all of that, 15 or so years ago. And I refuse to go back. I don't even think I'm unemployable. Like, even when I go try to get a job, people are like, maybe you should get a job to bring in the money so you could pay your house more easily. And I'm like, I try that, but then I want to own it.
We're too feral for normal jobs.
I just anybody that looks at my resume, they're like, wow, you have a lot of experience. Why have you changed things so many times?
That's how you build all that experience.
Well, I mean, for crying out loud, when I was in my 20s, I tried to get a job and they're just like, well, you don't have any experience. My daughter, who's 13, she goes, I don't really understand, Mom. They want you to have experience, but you can't get experience unless you get a job. I'm like, That is the problem with the system. Period. Which is why I'm trying to raise you guys to want to be independent and just do your own thing. I'm not saying don't gain experience. That's not what I'm saying. But there is always creative ways to do so.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. In certain jobs, I recommend young people just go in the military for certain jobs. I mean, because you get all the training and 4 years of experience. The trouble is a lot of people go into the military with no plan. And so they come out with no plan. And then they get jobs at the grocery store.
Right. Well, yeah, that's not that usually that's or they end up, dealing with combat, real war. You can't just join the military without that risk.
Yeah.
So
Yep. That's why I say
it's
certain
like
jobs. Yeah. Don't join the infantry if you want to get experience working on cars.
I don't even know why that's funny because it's like it's so true though. It's like you're like, hey, by the way, you want to get shot at? Maybe don't do that.
Hey, put that on your resume. I have dodged bullets for 4 years.
Right. Oh, so this guy that I'm writing his book for, he goes, I graduated the Marines and I knew it was bulletproof. He goes, but I did, however, find out I was not rocket proof.
Exactly. There's a limit.
Yeah, there is. It's like, whoops. So couldn't dodge that one. Um, how specifically is it that you really help people? Like what, how is it that if someone's listening to this, like, well, I'm a little nervous about jumping the 9 to 5, or, you know, uh, doing homeschool sounds very daunting. Like, what is the easiest way for you to explain to them on how they would do this?
The way I like to do it is to erase the fears, but doing small steps. So let's say somebody comes to me and she's a school teacher, and
Mm-hmm.
she wants to be out of that mess because of the bureaucracy, the rules, whatever. And so what I like to do, I would take her where she's at, show her how to build multiple streams of income without, multiple streams, but not multiple side hustles. And so that, I mean, I could take a school teacher and think about all the content they create every
Mm-hmm.
single year. I would teach them how to sell the content online. They create it once for their classroom, start selling it, and eventually work them up to where the streams of income, the passive income, everything makes so much money that why are they teaching? They don't need to anymore, and they can just be home, teach their kids, build a garden, raise a farm, whatever they want to do.
Yeah, and so is your wife working as well, or is it's just you and your business?
She kind of does her own stuff. She helps me with my business. She helps with farm stuff. She's the main homeschooler. Matter of fact, right now she's upstairs making a bunch of lasagnas for church stuff.
Oh man, I need to get my butt to Tennessee so I can have a lasagna.
And I can smell it down here in the basement too. It smells good.
And then so okay, so you've got the little different baby steps. Like how long does it typically take someone that you're working with to be able to start seeing revenue come into their household? Because that's also one of the big questions. Like,
Yeah,
well, I've heard it takes such a long time. And well, my big problem is everyone's just like, I need a social media expert. I'm like, and I've just gotten to the point where I'm like, you need no social media expert, period. They
right.
charge you a lot of money for a very slow return on the investment. And and I get tired of like, it just takes time.
Yeah.
Baloney. There's a way to grow the business faster than that.
Oh yeah. And that's why I love teachers. I could take a school teacher, let's say in May when the year's winding down. They come to me because they don't want to go back in September whenever school starts again. I mean, if they hustled all summer long, they could make a way they didn't have to go back. I mean, there are
Wow.
ways. It's just if you're willing to do the short term, really hustle for a bit. That's why I love school teachers because most of them get a few months off in the summer. I know some of them work year round, but a few months in the summer, and they could make it to where they didn't have to go back, or they could go back part time, or they could just substitute the next year because they love teaching, they love being around kids, but they don't want to deal with all the stuff.
Nice. Now, are they putting their ideas and stuff on like Etsy, or is it something different than that?
Everything. Etsy is one of the places. Teachers pay teachers. It's kind of like Etsy, Amazon, KDP, but geared directly for teachers. And I'm not a teacher, but I sell a lot of stuff on TPT.
Okay, well that's really interesting because I know that even one of my dear friends, she's kind of in the unschooling world.
Oh
Kind
yeah,
of sort of. It's like it's micro schooling. So I don't know all that. I don't do any of that. Like I'm a public school mom by choice, but I
yeah,
mean, but I tell people though, like to sidebar that, people are like, how do you do that? I'm like, I'm super involved. So to me, if you're going to send them into the war zone of the public school system, you got to be hyper focused, super paying attention, and watching all of the things like a hawk. I just happen to
yeah,
have a really good school district that they also know that I will get involved if I have to. Sidebar COVID. Like they were just like, "Will you go away?" No, I won't. You're being
yeah.
dumb. So, but you know, when it comes to, well, anyway, go back to my friend who's in micro schooling. I know that she's like, I would love to give her guidance on like how to grow that part, because she's got curriculum, because they live kind of like up in the mountains in the woods, kind of similar to you do, probably pretty close if I had to guess. And they've got different ways on how you can use nature to teach the kids. And
forest schooling is a big thing right now.
Yeah, it's really fun. We're actually in the middle of doing a collab book. We're about to launch that. It's called Education Unleashed. So that'll be kind of fun. Everybody can kind of wait for that. There's several different micro schoolers, either in parents, who are kind of putting their information together for other people to be able to do the same. You know, here COVID happens and everybody's just like, oh my gosh, this is awful, because we were all kind of zombies to the public school system. You know, oh, we'll just do it all of a sudden. We're all online going like, what did you just tell my kid to do? And it's like, so people are waking up. And plus there's really some areas that don't really have very good school options.
Yeah.
So,
I love these ideas that came out of COVID. Like, there's a group, I think it's actually a business, but like the one-room schoolhouse. And they help people set up one-room schoolhouses like for their community or for a co-op. And it's outside the public school system, but the kids still go to school with other kids.
Yeah, my sister does something very similar to that in the Virginia area, more closer to DC, and it's been around for a while, even before COVID. But I'm glad that that's coming back. And it might be here even in the St. Louis area. I don't know, but again, I have a co-parenting situation, so my hands are tied on what I can do. But what I can do is I can be hyper involved in making sure that, hey, we're going to be okay. And hey, we don't get Daniel's, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego's by not sending them into the fiery furnace. So, I'd love for you to and I would love, you had said, so we would talked about a little bit before about you being a part of Homeland Security. And I'm like, I didn't know I knew somebody who was a part of that. And I know that you had said it's kind of gotten itself wrapped up in some knots since and become inflated and all that. But can you share what it was like to be a part of that?
Oh, that was fun. I've been I don't know, ever since I've been 17 years old, I've been in jobs where people shot at me. And most of that on an ambulance. It's a weird thing. People shoot at ambulances quite a bit. So I worked for FEMA when 9/11 happened. And so what happened, as soon as 9/11 happened, President Bush activated or brought to life the Department of Homeland Security. And so a bunch of us that were in specialized positions, they brought us over and we helped start the entire department. And so it's kind of cool because, I mean, it's not often that a department level part of the government is activated. So it was neat to be a part of that from the beginning. And I was on the disaster medic side. And so we would set up field hospitals, things like that. A lot of fun. You hate for bad things to happen, but when it does, if you have the expertise, I mean, you want to be there.
Right. Well, I guess kind of similar, maybe not. You can say No Girl, Not the Same. When it comes to the show MASH, how they had that all set up, ready to go when people would come in the Korean War. So I guess something similar to that for anyone who needed a visual.
Yeah, no, exactly like that. Just fast forward the technology and the tents were air conditioned, which is really nice. But no, after Katrina, we had set up hospitals on a high school football field. And so we were landing helicopters on the football field.
Well, and we could go into a whole another downward spiral on why it doesn't work now. Because I'm like, gosh, I mean, one of the biggest problems we have right now with FEMA, well, we just had the disaster in Texas. Yeah. And now we had what happened last year with the hurricane last fall that came up through the mountains randomly.
And that's where I'm at. I'm on the upper top of South Carolina. And so, I mean, I've still got dead trees in the yard from that hurricane.
Yeah, I've heard there's like millions of trees down. Like it's going to take forever for that to come clear out. Maybe we can like hire a bunch of beavers to make more dams. So sorry. People are like, why? That's not funny. I'm like, well, I'm trying to be funny in a really bad situation.
Don't get me started on the dark humor, the jokes at night with the paramedics.
Well, my people probably don't know this about me yet, but my favorite type of humor is dark and dry humor. And it's like, to me, it makes you have to think, or like, you're like, oh, that was a little much. But, I don't know. I particularly like it. Even one of my clients, Deanna Cotton, with her book Embracing the End, she had even said, how did she say it? Oh, I'd have to look it up, and I don't think I have her book like right here ready. But it was so funny. It's right here. Um, she has said, by the way, of her bucket list, and she's like, and her bucket list was finish this book, and she's like, this book was the most important. It looks like I did it all before the deadline because she's dying of ALS.
And only somebody in a situation like that can say those jokes and it come across funny.
Right. And so people are like, wow, that's dark. I'm like, yeah, but it's the best. It's the best type of dark because she's the one that said it, not me. But was there any other like beautiful nuggets or wisdom you'd love to share with the audience who might be listening, or even like encouragements to someone who is like, stuck in the 9 to 5 and they're not sure they can get out, or they've always wanted to homeschool, but they're not sure, how where to even start?
Yeah. I mean, for me, one of the biggest nuggets, I was even talking to my kids about this because we do like a family meeting every Sunday. And one of the biggest things for me that my kids see as normal that isn't is I am home for almost every single meal. I help my kids make breakfast, eat breakfast with them, eat lunch with them. I'm here for supper before we rush off to sports practices and everything. And it's weird because I was giving them the example of a typical dad that works a W-2 job. The kids are off to school, before dad even sees them, probably. Dad goes to work. He eats lunch at work or goes out with the work friends, whatever. Misses lunch with his kids, and they're at the public school, so he couldn't have lunch with them there anyway. And then chances are they have eaten a quick supper before they go to sports practices before he gets home.
Yeah.
And how little bit of time that, a W-2 dad gets to spend with his kids. That's the nugget for me, is just more time with the kids.
Right.
No matter how they're schooled, just more time with the kids.
I mean, that's so true. Like even my husband, we're waiting for a call. He is a W-2 guy. He's not a very big risk assessed. Like he can't handle it. So that's where I come in. But he currently spends 10 hours
plenty
a day.
Enough.
Yeah, right. He spends 10 hours a day commuting, not a day, a week, 2 hours a day. And there's this opportunity a mile from our house. And I'm like, wow. What do you think about this? And he's like, and we really pray that he gets it. We should hear, we were told we would hear something today. So everybody just kind of keep prayers that this actually happens, because what it'll be, instead of him getting up at 3:30 in the morning, leaving for work at 4, and then coming home and being home at 5:30 and mad at the world because he's dealt with highway traffic. I mean, just, nearly risking his life every time he steps on those because people don't know how to drive. And, to be where it's a 1 mile from here, where it's from 7 to 4. But even my son was saying, he goes, I would be able to, have breakfast with Craigie before school. And I'm like, yeah, you could. And so, and he goes, and he'd be home. And, as soon as we get back from school, it'd be so weird. He would get 40 hours a month of his life back.
Oh man. And he'd be home before dark, can still go out and play ball with the kids or whatever.
Right. Exactly. And he maybe not be tired. Like he's 54 and absolutely exhausted. And I'm always trying to grow my business to get him home. But it's a lot for one person to pull that amount of money living in St. Louis County. Like it is not cheap here. Yeah. And to move is just, again, not a thing till after the kids graduate. And even then, I would like to do more than just eat ramen noodles and pie oh my mac and cheese. So that's what I did. It helps
a little, but it's not sustainable, not fun anyway.
No, no, right. So, and even you guys are kind of homesteaders too. You kind of do a lot of your own stuff. Like that's like I have the yard for it, but literally right now it's 100 degrees outside every single day. I'd have to water it or watch it die, and I'd probably watch it die because I hate being outside. So there's that. So, but that's, and I always admire watching families like yours who seem to have it all figured out. And I've watched from afar. I'm like, man, that's nice. If I could just get that situation in a box and step right into it and start doing it. I already had the plans established, pick my tomatoes and the zucchini, make my bread, make my sourdough. 'Cause
Yeah.
the starters are already in the kitchen. This is the way I picture your life being kumbaya.
It is sometimes.
Yeah. So I'm like, it's one of the reasons why I'd like to get out and visit just to see what it's like. I have a cousin who lives in Indiana that she retired from the military, worked for McDonnell Douglas for a long time.
Oh.
I don't even think it's called McDonnell. Is it called McDonnell Douglas, or I get it all? Boeing. It's called Boeing now.
Yeah,
I get it all mixed up, man. Like I still live in the 90s. And so she, like, as a homesteader in Indiana, and I'm like, it looks so great, but I also have a family that has a farm. It is not easy.
No. And what you have to get used to with that kind of a life is knowing that it's not easy, but it's worth it. Like just, picking all the kale that I picked like 10 pounds of kale, me and my kids, and we dehydrated it, powdered it. I use it for smoothies. And so it's work. It's not fun work either. Because when it's 110 degrees in the South, but it's worthy work. Like it feels different.
Yeah.
And it's all for my family. Like that's one of the reasons I could never go back to a normal job, because I'm doing so much work for somebody else.
Right.
Now all the work I do is to two purposes: to help people and help my family.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, anyone that's listening and who might want to learn some techniques, if they're teachers or even homeschool moms, like, hey, I need to bring in some extra money. How do I do that? How do they get in touch with you?
Redteamgoals.com. That's my main website for all my various businesses and the farm and everything.
Nice.
Red Team Goals.
redteamgoals.com. So awesome. I'll make sure everybody has that also in the link. And thank you so much, David, for all the great time. Everybody, I know this was kind of out of the norm, but it was super fun. Plus, you got to know my personality a little bit more than just all about trauma and tragedy, and see that I can be funny and ha-ha.
Do you want me to gross out your audience with a paramedic joke? Or
sure. Go ahead. That'd be fun. Let's do it. They might unsubscribe, but that's okay.
I'm going to warn everybody now, this may gross you out, but we love telling that. Like, we'd go to Denny's late at night and tell jokes too loud and scare people. So as paramedics, we would go see autopsies any chance we had. And the fun pathologists it was so good. And we had one pathologist, we would go watch autopsies, and he would let us hold stuff and play with it. And he would start carving people up and start showing us, like, hey, if you were to eat somebody, let me show you. This right here is the best part. And so, behind the scenes of the people that help you are some really weird and crazy people.
Well, and be careful if you ever needed to be a cannibalist. Don't spend time with those who've been in the service or in the ambulance world, because they'll know who they're going to get first, and it's not them, it's you.
Yeah, with a little Chianti.
Well, thank you, everybody. You remember that your journey is never in vain. You are not disqualified by what you've been through, and with Jesus Christ, you are healed, whole, and called. Subscribe or unsubscribe, but hopefully you don't change your mind. Thanks again, guys, and talk to you again soon.
Thank you for joining us on Healed, Whole, Called. If this episode spoke to your heart, don't keep it to yourself. Subscribe and share it with someone who needs to know that healing is possible, purpose is real, and God is still restoring. And before you go, visit resilience-press.com and download your free copy of Get to the Point of Self-Publishing, Wendy's guide to help you move from stuck to published with clarity and confidence. You'll find it in the free resources section. Until next time, stay rooted in truth, covered in grace, and always moving toward the promise.